Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today, Masechtas Zevachim daf Nun Beis. We're going to begin on Nun Beis and went off about 6 lines from the top. I'm Rabbi Shmuel. So, we were learning about the requirement of Yisod, that the outer Mizbech has this Yisod, and the sprinkling of the Dam, which would need to be put on the Yisod, cannot be referring to the inner Mizbech, because the inner Mizbech does not have a Yisod. We also learned that it has to be a gagud yesod, which is the horizontal part of the yesod, not the vertical part. Okay. Omer Mishmuel, gag yesod lumli. Why do you need a pasuk to tell us that that is where the blood application should take place? After all, we can learn from Kabbalah Chayimru. Ma shiri chatas. When it comes to the leftovers of the carbon chatas, the dam of that, sheinu v'chaperes, we know that, as we've established, the carbon chatas, which is brought on the outer mizbeach, so the din is that it is not mechaper that the shiri chatas. All you need to do, as we saw based Machas Hillel in the previous parak, that as long as there's one dam application, according to Beis Hillel, that would be mechaper, and the other ones are la mitzvah. It's not la akev. Certainly not the shiri chatas. Nonetheless, to unagag yisoid, they still need to have it when you do it, even though it's not doesn't cause the kapara. But when you do the blood applications of the leftovers, it has to be on the gag yisod. So tchilas oila. Shemachaperes enodin shetunu gag yisoid, right? So you shouldn't need a pasuk. It should be obvious that when it comes to a carbon oila, that it in itself, it is the dam application that is what causes the kapara. So then certainly it should require gag yisoid. So you don't need a pasuk. You can derive straight from Kabbalah Chayimru. So Rabbi Akiva, Uma shiri chatas. When it comes to the leftovers, the carbon chatas shin mechaprin, again, it doesn't achieve kapara because kapara was already achieved, and also in boin lechaper, it's not coming. The purpose of it is not to lechaper, nonetheless to gag yisoid. So tchilos oish mechaper so bol lechaper and udin shetuni gag yisoid. So basically, it's the same question. Now we have a Kabbalah Chayimru. So why do we need the pasuk? Kain matam u'lemer el yisod mizbeach oila. So what's the whole purpose of it? So tain yisod the mizbeach shel oila. So it's coming to tell you this extra din that you need even when it comes to other karbonos, including an ola, that it needs yisod. So my binayu. So at the end of the day, it's the same requirements, the same blood applications. So what's the real nafkamina between them? So on this, Omer Rabba Adabarava, Shirayim Ma'akvin Ikminayu. Mar Savar Ma'akvi, Mar Savar Ma'akvi, says Rashi. Rabbi Shmuel Savar Kaparahu Dolo Machapri Ava Akubi Ma'akvi. Okay, fine. It doesn't achieve kapara, but maybe the Shirayim is actually, it's still a requirement. You must put it there. Rabbi Kiva, the Maisif, he adds and says, the in boin le kapara. So why is he saying that extra line? Ashmina the ein matan damim shel matnas toli behen. It's just telling that the dam, the kapara of the blood application is not totally on the shirayim. Dula ma'akvid because the shirayim are not ma'akiv. Okay, so that would be the practical nafkamina between the two. Okay. So let me make sure the question wasn't asked yet. Okay. So that's the nafkamina. Do we say shirayim ma'akvin igbenayu? Okay, that's one answer. Rapapa oimer no the kuliyam shirayim in ma'akvin. No, even though they both bring down the similar dinim, we don't say that one of them actually holds that the shirayim or ma'akiv. No. So then v'hacha b'mitzui chatas oif ma'akiv kamefagi. When it comes to the bird, right, which you did malika, right? So is it necessary that after the dam comes out, you also have to squeeze the oaf to be able to get the other dam to come out? So that is the question. Kamifni. Marsav or Ma'akiv or Marsav or Ma'akiv. So that's the din. Do we say that it's required for you also to do mitzui on the chatas oif? Says Rashi, Dechsiv v'hizim adam chatas el kir mizbeach. Okay. Anyway, so that's Rav Papa's opinion. So Tanakh is Rav Papa that this is what it's totally on. The pasuk says, and let's see the pasuk in its entirety, regarding the par kohen hamashiach, the par in which the kohen gadol would bring. It says, "Anasan kohen min adam," that the kohen will take from the blood and will put it on the corners of the mizbeach in front of Hashem in the Ol Moed. This kol dam hapar, and this is what we're quoting here. All the dam of the par will be yishboich. We're going to pour. So matam l'omer hapar. So why does it have to say hapar? It already says in the pasuk. It talks about that you take the dam, and then it says again, this kol dam hapar. So what is that coming to tell us? We obviously know we're talking about a par kohen Mashiach. So why does that have to mention par? So matam l'omer hapar liman al par yom kippurim sheta'in matan damim li'asayid divrei Rabbi. So it's telling us that also when it comes to the par, which the kohen gadol brings, the par and the sire, so the par of Yom Kippur, in addition to all the other blood applications, ben abadim, by the paroiches, 1 and 7, right? In addition to that, it also needs matan damim yisayid, David Remy, or maybe Shmuel Kavachaimer. So you're trying to tell me that we need a pasuk to tell us that the par Yom Kippurim requires yisoid. You can also see it from the Kavacham Ma'im Mishenu Nichnas Dam Lefnim. When it comes to certain karbanos that do not even go inside the base of Mikdash into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, chayva, it's not an obligation. Toin yisoid. So Misha Nichnas Dam Lefnim. So chayva. In addition to tiny side, right? So you don't need a pasuk. You have a kavachaimer, which tells you that we find that there's such a high stringency when it comes to par Yom Kippur that is brought inside, right? The dam is brought inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, so probably we have a lot more requirements of dam, and therefore it requires shirayim on the side. So Amar Bikivo Ma Mi She'en Damo Nichnas Lefnai Lefnim sounds pretty similar. Bein B'chayva Bein LaMitzvah Toin Yisaid, right? So Mi She'en Nichnas Damo L'chayva Lefnai Lefnim, which is the par of Yom Kippur, right? The par of Yom Kippur. So in addition to Toin Yisaid. So again, L'chayva have a kavacham. So Yachol Yakvenu. So maybe it's ma'akev that the parsha Yom Kippur must be put on the side. Tamulomer v'chila mechaper as a kodesh. So let's see this whole pasuk. V'chila mechaper as a kodesh. Yes, ol moed v'asam mizbeach v'hikra v'asa sa'ir hachai. So that's the pasuk. Shalmu kol karbanai kol kaparas kulon. So it basically completes all the kapara. So basically it says v'kila, it's finished, right? The kapara is complete, it's finished. So it must be, therefore, it's the shiraim, even though we want you to put it on the side, it's not going to be ma'akev. Okay. Divri Rabbi Shmuel. So kavachaymer l'par kohen. So Divri Rabbi Shmuel. So kavachaymer l'par kohen Mashiach mi'ata. Uma mishenu nechnas dam lefnim loichayvul mitzvah toin yisaid. So mishenu dam lefnim ben lochayvul ben mitzvah den toin yisaid. So yachli yakvenu tamud loimer v'yas kol hadam hapor yishmaich. So nitko akasav lasei v'yasei shirim mitzvah loimer l'cha shiraim in ma'akvin. So it comes to tell you that shiraim are not ma'akev. Okay, question 3. Alma Omer B'Gemara did nitku hakosov v'asu shiri mitzvah. By what is it talking about that it made it into like the leftover mitzvah? So what is this referring to? So as we just said, for question 3, this is al shvichas shiri hadami yasoid lo mechashin ma'akvin, right? So when it comes to spilling the dam onto the Yisoid, it's not ma'akev. Okay, even though it's ta'in Yisoid, but it's not ma'akev. So according to Rabbi, he says that the squeezing of the chatas, the oif is ma'akev. But he says as follows regarding a chatas oif. It says v'hiza medam chatas, that he would sprinkle from the dam of this chatas oif al kir hamizbech, onto the walls of the mizbech. V'nishar bedam, whatever's left over, yimatzei el yisoid mizbech chatasu. So the leftover blood is supposed to be put over there. So what do we see from here? It says Nun Beis Amud Beis, V'she'eno nishar loyimsa. So what do we see? It's only if there's extra dam there, then you would put it onto the mizbeach, right? Then you would put it, as the pasuk says, to the sod hamizbeach. But if it's not, then you don't. Which clearly shows that you don't, says Rashi, im yatsa kol adam in sarach mitzui. So it's not necessary for to squeeze it. So your answer is, okay, that's a good point, but trade it to Noav, leave it or Bishmuel. Omer Rami Marchama, Haitana Savi Shiraim Akvi. This Tana holds that Shiraim are Ma'akiv, even though we said, according to Rav Papa, that everyone holds it's not, to Sanya. It says as follows. The pasuk says in Vayikra Vav, Daber el Aharon vel Banav Lemor Zois Taras Achatos. This is the law of the Chatos. Bimkoim Asher Tishachi the Oila, the same place where you shech the Oila, that's where you should shech the Chatos. Kodesh Kodeshim He. And then it says a Koyin Amachate Oisa. The Koyin Yoichleda B'Makom Kadosh. So he should eat it in a holy place. He eats the leftover of this chatos. B'chatzer ol moed, he has to eat it in the courtyard of the ol moed. So hakoyin amachati, so I saw only he shenitin dam ulamala, only he who put the dam properly on the top. Right, that's where it's supposed to be. The oila, which means above, is actually, that dam goes on the bottom. However, when it comes to a chatas, it's put on the top. V'oisa shenitin dam lamata, but not that which the dam is put below. So, and that's referring to a chatas ha'oif, as well as an oila, which is the dam is put below. So, Marta v'chi ma'ain ba'ata, how you understand mechlal shenemar from the pasuk v'dam zevachachi shafich al mizbeach v'gomer omanu l'nitnin b'matan arba, that when it comes to the chatas, there's 4 blood applications on the 4 sides. However, she nastam b'matanachas keeper, as we said, even if you do 1 blood applications by the chatas, is a kapara. Yochel af nitin l'mal shenas l'mata keeper. So you think, even though when it comes to a chatas, you're supposed to put it on the top, but if you instead of put it on the bottom, because you did the 1 blood application, but you did it in the wrong place, that would work. Keep here. V'dinu nemer damu mal v'nemer damu mata ma damu more mata, like an oil or a chatas oiv shenas l'mal keep here. If you put the oila, which is supposed to go on the bottom, you put it on the top, it's not a kapara. So avdami more malwa l'mal imnas l'mata will keep here. It has to be in the right place. If it was not put in the right place, it's not a kapara. Lo. When it comes to the bottom one, we're supposed to put it on the bottom instead of put it on the top. It doesn't work. Why? Shenitnan b'nesin l'malwa. That's not good because she ain't seifin l'malwan. At the end, it's not going to go to be put up. We'll keep her. But if it's supposed to go on the top, shenasin l'mata, and you put it on the bottom, sheshmin karv lamata damim shirayim, right? Because even if, let's say, you're supposed to put the top, supposed to go on the top, but any dam like a chatas where it's supposed to be put on the top, and let's say you accidentally put it on the bottom, it's not maybe it is a kapara because the shirayim need to go on the yesod, right? So there, and the yesod is on the bottom, right? It's below the chota sikra. So therefore, what do we see? It must be that the shirayim are integral in order for this to work. So that's what we're saying within this whole point, is that maybe they're not the same. If you put the dam, which is supposed to be on the bottom, and you put it on the top, so in that situation, the reality is you did it wrong. But if the dam was supposed to go on the top and you put it on the bottom, so the carbon still requires shirayim to go on the bottom. Okay, so a panimim yachichu. When it comes to the blood applications inside by the mizbeach hazav, sheish ben karv b'chutz. Let's say someone is makriv outside, so if, let's say, you did the blood applications which are supposed to go inside, outside, it doesn't work, so it's not a kapara, right? Lo, you can't say, that's not a question, because imar bidamim hapanimim shem mizbeach hapanimi mimmatek. In other words, when it comes to the mizbeach hapanimi, that's where it's supposed to go. It's not even talking about the outer mizbeach. Term el yonim shar kuranais marakos oisan. Im nasan l'mata ksherim talmud loimer oisa shneim dama l'mala v'lo shenit has to be on the top. V'lo shenitin dama l'mata. My shem mizbeach hapanim mimar kan. What does that mean? Love el shirayim. And again, it shows that shirayim are ma'akev. The inner leftover dam, chisayfin chayva b'chutz, that has to go outside. Austin b'chil b'chutz will keeper. But if you did the original dam application, was supposed to go on the inside, didn't outside, doesn't work. So on this l'mal shin sayfin chayva lamata, a dam application which is supposed to go on the top was not supposed to go on the bottom. The Austin b'chil lamata, and you put it originally on the bottom, it an inch keeper. So maybe you can learn from, just like the panimi, if you do it wrong, it's not going to be a kapara if you did it outside. So too, if you did a blood application which was supposed to go on the top and the bottom, so that also will work. Ella ein mizbech hapanimi mimarkan pilvad el paroiches. Okay, Tanabanim. The chilo mechaper. So it says that completes the kapar, which is mashma that the shirayim are not ma'akev. In keeper kila, if it's get a kapar, it's complete. The im lo keeper lo kila. David Rabbi Kiva. Amol Rabbi Yehudim im malu nemar im kila keeper im lo kila lo keeper. Shim chisu achas v'chol hamatana yislos lo klum. That the entire thing must be done, and therefore even if you're missing even one thing, that's ma'akev. So my benai Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi Chanoimer. Bashmoy starshin ikumenayim. It's just based on the psukim, but there's really no practical nafkamina. The chad oimer shirayim akvin ikumenayim. Maybe the nafkamina is whether or not the shirayim are ma'akev. To stand Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi who the yomer shirayim the ma'akev. Why? The yomer Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi l'divri omer shirayim ma'akvin. Since he says, according to those who say that it is ma'akev, maybe par echad. A person brings one par umaschil betchila b'fnim. So ought to Rav Yochanan Leisul Hasvara, Rav Yochanan Tana Rav Nechemi Kedivri Ha'omer Shirayim Akvan El Kedivri Ha'omer V'lav Lahani Tanoi Hachinami Kedivri Ha'omer V'lav Lahani Tanoi. We're going to stop there. Maybe we'll see a couple more questions. Maybe it'll help us out. Question 4. Madua Itzrach Kra. Why do we need a pasuk B'chatas Behema? By a chatas behema, lift soil. Im nosin mat nosel lamata. So again, a chatas behema, the dam is supposed to go on the top. If you put it on the bottom, why did the pasuk tell you that's not good? V'lo neilav b'mamatzinu b'chatas ha'oif the dina lamata v'im asal malapsula. We already know by chatas ha'of, as we said, that which is supposed to go on the bottom. If you do the blood application on the top, it's possible. It's not good. So when it comes to a chatas, in which the dam is supposed to go on the top, and instead you do on the bottom, so you should also learn out from that it is not good. So why can't you learn out from chatas oif? So imamarta b'tachtainim shenitnin b'nesina lamala. So the problem is that when it comes to a chatas, which you did it on the bottom, which is supposed to go on the top, shin saifin lamala lo keeper. There's never a time that you're supposed to put it on the top, right? However, Timer El Yoinim, when it comes to a Chatas Of, even though it's true, it was supposed to go on the bottom, and you did it wrong on the top, but you're still going to have done something properly on the bottom because of the Shirayim. So therefore, that is the almost like a proof of sorts that the Shirayim are Ma'akev, at least according, perhaps in that reading. So let's look at this language again. So, lo, im amarta betachtoinim, right? Shenitnim benesina lamala. So we said, if let's say we're dealing with a carbon which is supposed to go on the bottom, right? Which is like a chatas, okay? And you end up putting on the top, she'ein seifin lamala. You never put it above. Lo keeper. However, let's say when it comes to, actually I said it the other way around, when it comes to tachtoinim, which is referring to the chatas ha'of, right? So it's supposed to be put on the bottom. So we say maybe what is the problem over there? If you put it above, the reason why it's puzzle is because there is no time it's supposed to be put on above. However, when it comes to El Yoinim, like for example a chatas, right, like a chatas behema, so in that situation, a chatas is supposed to go on the top, but instead you put it on the bottom. The truth is, you're supposed to put some of the dam of the chatas behema on the bottom, namely into the side. Sheish vehen karev lamata damim shirayim, right? So therefore, that's the reason why you need a pasuk. So then we say, well, how about the panim in yochichu? But that's the idea behind that. Okay. TA1. B'gemar Yov Metrei Kroi El Yisod Mizbech Oil Amuti Mizbach HaPanimi Madul Losagi B'Chad Kra. So we said that already because to tell you that you don't do it on the that's Nun Aleph. No, it was Nun Aleph. We saw that already. Did I mark this down? Maybe not. Oh yeah, I did. So El Yisod is Enli Yosef Panim Latzmo. Okay, so we ended up saying and the other one is to tell you that panimi ain't lo yisoid. So that's TA1. That's not I would say it's actually up. Oh, the royal gavoy, so it's kind of a little bit alluded to on Nun Beis and Aleph at the very top as well. Okay. TA2. Im Gomer Hamatanois B'Yom Kippurim V'Nishbach Hadam Kodim Shvichas Shirayim Ma'adin. So basically, what's the din if when it comes to the Par Yom Shel Yom Kippurim, are the Shirayim Ma'akev? Basically, that's what the question is. So if let's say a tak is ma'akev, then maybe par acher umaskil b'fnim v'shavek sharam liyasoid, because you have to do it, right? You have to redo it. Umandir me'in ma'akvin in mavin, right? So obviously, it's not necessary if you if shirayim are not ma'akev, they're not ma'akev, then that's it. You don't do it. But if you hold ma'akev, then there's a whole new process. You have to bring another par, and you are maskil b'fnim b'mizbeach hapanimi v'shayfech shirayim liyasoid. TB 5. Im gamer hamatanas me'b'gibam nishbach adam kanim shayfech shirayim ma'adin. So I wrote zemachos toli im shirayim ma'akvin. Im ein ma'akvin lo asa shum davar. Im saver shirayim ma'akev sarach lahavi carbon acher bezivug. Okay, interesting language. Okay. Adkan.